Welcome to the Unified Brand Podcast, brought to you by Elements Brand Management, a weekly brand building and brand strategy podcast to help you unlock your brand's potential, stand out from the competition, and create impact. Today, we're joined by Chris Manderino, a purpose-driven entrepreneur who is co-founder and CEO at LYFefuel, a plant-based nutrition company designed to put back what is missing from food, and a former NFL fullback. Great to have you on the Unified Brand Podcast, Chris. It'd be good to learn more about yourself, what you do, and LYFefuel.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. So a little background, personal and professional background about myself. So I've been an athlete my entire life. So nutrition and kind of healthy lifestyle and performance has always been, something that I've strived to achieve and looked at different ways to constantly improve and kind of think about that. And I guess my path toward ultimately becoming CEO and founder of LYFefuel was post-football career when I had an opportunity to live and play football abroad in Italy. I really woke up to the cultural differences between the Italian way of living and eating and what we've adopted modern lifestyles in the Western world, specifically the United States. And so what I noticed was they really took a lot more pride in where the food comes from. They've got a very localized approach and are still very connected to the land and where everything is grown. Whereas back home, we're very disconnected. We have no clue a lot of times, what goes on behind the scenes, create the food and the supplements and all this stuff that we consume on a daily basis. And that model is not getting us any healthier or fitter. And so, we set out to start LYFefuel as a way to empower customers to, fuel their bodies in a more responsible, efficacious manner that put back what's missing from food by addressing a lot of the common nutritional deficiencies that exist in the standard American diet. And most people still have, even on a, quote unquote, healthy diet, due to the agriculture industrialization of food. And so that was really the objective in leveraging my experience as a professional athlete, my time professionally in the functional medicine world, and then additional studies that I had done to up my knowledge of plant-based nutrition specifically and other kind of performance-related lifestyle tips and tricks and kind of daily routines. And so the culmination of that effort is LYFefuel, which we've been at now for almost 6 years. It was fairly early in the plant-based nutrition space. And that's kind of, I guess, a little summary of how we got here.
That's cool. So you mentioned deficiencies in kind of the current diet and also the agricultural system. Could you dive into that a little bit more? So what does that system produce and what are the sort of deficiencies on the back of that?
Yes, so I think it's pretty common knowledge now that we've largely depend on ultra-processed foods. A lot of us, they've become kind of staples in a modern diet. So a lot of packaged food that essentially has been stripped of all the key vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, and fibers that the body needs to look, feel, and perform its best. And even when we're talking about, whole foods, plant-based foods, meats and all that, the way in which they're grown really determines, the nutrient density of those foods themselves. And so the biggest, I guess, factor, or a few of the biggest factors in why we've, lost a lot of the nutrient density of the foods that we eat, like the best foods that we eat, are the soils have been largely stripped of, the vitamins and minerals, and therefore not passing into the fruits and vegetables at the same rate that they used to. The herbicides, pesticides, and everything else that gets sprayed on top of them in monocrop agriculture kind of exacerbates that problem. And then, the distances that food travels before it reaches our plate. And so, on average, a lot of fruits and vegetables have lost, over 30% of their nutrient density over the past couple of decades. And, you can pretty much apply this to any, big food system and look at, the deterioration of the healthfulness of these foods. And our philosophy is that there's no, food inherently is not good or bad necessarily, but the way in which it's grown and produced ultimately determines the output. And, take a steak, for instance, a steak coming from a industrial feedlot is going to be more inflammatory because it's richer in omega-6 fatty acids versus a steak that's been pasture-raised cattle, raised and slaughtered humanely, fed a natural grass diet their whole lives. That's actually going to be higher in omega-3 essential fatty acids, which help to reduce inflammation in the body, provide great sources of fat-soluble vitamins, K2, and all that stuff the body needs to really thrive. So what we're seeing pretty widespread is, most people are not able to get everything they need from food alone. And that's even when you take into consideration fortification of a lot of the foods, mostly the grain-enriched foods, so pastas, breads, cereals, those types of things, and supplementation. People are still falling short. And so there's a real problem and challenge a busy, on-the-go, modern lifestyle to get everything you need. And when that happens, when you don't get your daily intake of these key vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients, your body flips a switch from long-term health to short-term survival. And you start to accelerate the aging process. The systems of the body begin to break down, and basically opens up Pandora's box for diet and lifestyle related disease and illness.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy to think that there's that much being sort of not taken away, but leached from the produce that we're sort of ingesting on a regular basis, and that we're losing out on so much that could be there that is not there anymore. I think it's interesting how that has kind of developed over time. So when you develop your products, what are the things that you look for? How do you develop it? What's the process that you go through to produce your products?
Yeah, so we really look to smaller farmers that are doing things sustainably. We're really excited about the regenerative agriculture movement. So not just sustainable, sustainability unfortunately is no longer good enough. We really got to push to kind of rebalance the ecosystem by looking and adopting more regenerative agriculture solutions. So using cover crops like a lot of the pulses and the different things that we use as protein sources to kind of restore nitrogen balance in the soil and those types of things. So, that's really where it starts for us is, looking at how things are being produced and then how we can process them in a gentle and minimally invasive way so that we retain, that synergy of whole food nutrients instead of stripping them away with, solvents and chemicals and all that stuff to turn them into powders. So, innovation in the nutrition space and kind of turning whole foods into powders has really come a long way. And that's largely due to the consumer demand for, healthier options, cleaner label and all that. And so we're really looking to take advantage of that as we continue to innovate our formulations to make sure that, there's value alignment with the suppliers and the farmers. And then we are creating the most efficacious and complete solutions on the market. And the way that we think about that is we really start with an end goal in mind and think about what our customers are trying to accomplish as it pertains to health, and then reverse engineer that process all the way back to the source to say, okay, how can we find vitamin K2 in a whole food form, not synthetically derived, that doesn't contain a lot of the chemicals and is still free of pesticides and herbicides and all this other stuff that gets sprayed on crops and everything else. So it's a pretty comprehensive approach to nutrition. And for me personally, when I was an athlete and then traveling a ton as a busy professional, I was oftentimes in the sales world living out of my car, and I was taking a bunch of different products on the go just to kind of fuel my day. And it was extremely time consuming, extremely challenging, taking a handful of different pills and capsules and all that stuff just to kind of get the peace of mind that you're providing your body with the nutritional insurance need to continue to keep up that pace. And so like our hero product, the Essential Shake, is arguably the most comprehensive product on the planet because of the way that we thought about the individual vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients that are lacking in modern diets and brought that together in one complete form that you can easily drink and consume on the go. So it saves you time, saves you money, actually is more effective at providing exactly what you need than, randomly, throwing a bunch of, those together that, for the most part are synthetically derived. So if you look at the supplement industry, I would say the vast majority, definitely over 90%, probably closer to 99%, are chemically created in a lab. And they start usually with petroleum-based petrochemical ingredients to create those. So not necessarily something you'd equate with like the best fuel source for your bodies. Maybe something that's great for an automobile, but definitely not the human body.
No, not at all. I think it's interesting as well, because from the little that I know with regards to nutrition and things, from what you were talking about then, there's also pairings as well, coupling with different ingredients that can increase the absorption of it. Is that right? Is there certain ingredients that work together in order to increase absorption? And like you said, delivery and timings and things like this that actually can change how much you get from a particular product or food source?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of real whole foods and real whole food vitamins is, the body, just knows what to do with those more efficiently than isolated nutrients, right? Because when you eat an apple, it's not like, your body is like, it knows what to do with everything in there. And there's fiber and there's enzymes and there's, vitamins and minerals and all that you're getting versus like an isolated form. And so isolated form, like typically they get, absorbed much more rapidly and largely excreted at a higher rate in the body, whereas like a whole food source is going to, by digested and metabolized at a slower rate and then get into the body and do what it needs to do more efficiently. One example of this is we're maybe the only or one of the very few products in like the complete nutritional shake or meal replacement category that contains both vitamin D3 and K2. K2, is an extremely important vitamin. There's not currently an established RDI, recommended dietary intake for it. Yet there's tons and tons of studies that have been done to show the critical role that K2 has in shuttling calcium out of the arteries and away from the heart into the bones where it belongs. And so without that, calcium in the body builds up in the arteries and actually contributes to cardiovascular illness and heart attacks and all that type of thing. So it's very critical to make sure that those things are well balanced. It's synergy, and nature does that perfectly. Humans have kind of destroyed that process and tried to recreate it in a lab, and oftentimes we don't really get it right.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that we sort of deconstructed something to try and make it more efficient and easier to produce on a bigger scale, and then ended up actually reducing it to something that doesn't work as well as what's already there, so that's really interesting.
A lot more difficult to monetize just, whole food is the challenge, right? But, a lot easier to monetize, vitamins, minerals, and those types of things.
Sure. And one of the things I picked up on your LinkedIn that I really, really resonated with was you said you describe yourself as a purpose-driven entrepreneur. And when we build brands, we develop brands, one of the things we look at is purpose is a really important part of that overall brand development process. And I think, why do you think purpose is crucial in building a successful business, and how did it help you in the early days of Lyfefuel?
I think purpose for us is everything. It's been a constant reminder of why we're doing what we're doing. And that's really where we started. We started with the why. So it was, okay, what is the problem? What is the, our unique solution to that? And what is the impact that this can potentially have on human lives and the health of the planet? And so with that in mind, we really wanted to take a purpose-based approach to what we're doing. I think it's imperative for all businesses to start thinking along these lines, because most businesses, almost every business requires some sorts of, even if you're a pure technology, right, you still require energy and resources and different things to run that business. And so we're at a critical stage where we have to think consciously about these things. For us, obviously, the health of the planet is, synonymous with the health of our business and the ability to continue to empower more customers to live their fullest every day. And so we really wanted that to be at the forefront. We really thought consciously about all the different touch points that happen, just to bring products to the market. And that's where we're doing the best we can with the resources we have to continue to iterate and improve, the back end processes that a lot of times, customers don't see or don't always know about, but then also on the front end too, where we can contribute, a percentage of profits back into NGOs and different organizations that are out there at the grassroots level, trying to make a change happen, trying to improve their communities. And that's really something that we want to empower and be a part of, because that's just part of the core mission. Like, we feel that, when you're nourished, when you're healthful, then you're more energized and you're more, empowered to go pursue whatever it is in life that you wanted to pursue. You can be your true authentic self when you're empowered to do so.
100%. I think the amount of times, like you said, you mentioned your time on the road and with some of the products that you were sort of taking to try and keep up with the level of health. I think sometimes it's easy to grab something quickly that isn't as nutritious as it could be. And the knock-on effect to that is tenfold across all areas of your life. And effectively nourished and having that right source of fuel is only going to help that ripple effect as well, just in your business, in your family life, in your sporting side of things, in whatever you do, it's going to help to fuel that and allow you to enjoy life to the fullest. So I definitely understand that.
Our belief too is, conscious consumers are empowered consumers. And that's, in our humble opinion, one of the biggest ways to impact change is, voting with the dollar. And it's not that easy, right? If you think about it, because of, especially in the food industry, these major CPGs, Nestle, Kellogg, a lot of these major companies, Kraft, you name it, they control 90% or more of, food. And so oftentimes consumers can think they're making a mindful choice by, seeing what's on the front of the package or seeing a brand, but a lot of times they've been gobbled up, especially in our space. I think Nestle's gobbled up about not 80% of products out there, right? And so, the brand is, and what you think you're buying is very different than that, large corporate conglomerate and what their interests are behind the scenes that actually is funding their coffers. So, I think reconnecting and really understanding, how things are made and, supporting the small businesses, supporting your local producers, that's one of the best ways that we can all invoke change and kind of build the better future that we want to see.
Definitely. I like that cyclical approach as well, so that from the purpose, your core purpose, you're giving back to that community, you're developing that, and that socially conscious angle as well, the side of it that you're developing in your consumers, but also in the wider audience, I think is crucial. And like you said, it's taken away from those big companies that kind of got monopolies over things that aren't so willing to change and make a difference. And I think, it's interesting. So in terms of the business, when you started it, what were the challenges that you found as a startup from a socially conscious point of view, but also from developing the business from your initial idea, that purpose, that spark to where it is today?
Yeah, I mean, the list is long for sure. I think it took us almost 2 years from original concept just to get, the first manufacturer to get up and run with it. We talked to a couple dozen people and we were nothing. We had, no established business at that time. And so, the direct consumer packaged goods industry at the time was nothing like it is today. Today, you go and something online and you're in business tomorrow. It's like there's a myriad of ways to get into the game today. But back then, it was a lot more challenging. And there's specific like MOQs that we needed to meet. And then there was also challenges largely on the ingredient side of things and not a lot of transparency. And so we had, this product that we were trying to create and do it in the best way and do it as transparent as we could, but there was still limitations on the key ingredients that we wanted to source, because if the manufacturer didn't have them in-house, then you're looking at, much larger MOQs, and it just creates a lot of challenges, in the supply chain. And so we were just trying to get a proof of concept to market, test the waters and see, if it would resonate with, our target audience. And so I think there's always trade-offs. We had to start in like a recyclable plastic tub, even though we wanted something that was, completely recyclable and compostable, but it's not something that was available at the time or not something that our manufacturer provided. And so there was those types of trade-offs that we had to make just to, get started. But we never lost sight of wanting to continue to improve that and do as much as we can. And I think biggest thing that we've come to grips with is that this is a journey. Like, we're invested in this for the long term. And so as we have success, we can continue to make micro improvements over time. And it doesn't have to be perfect from the start. Because I think we kind of learn that lesson the hard way, and you're, busting your ass trying to make money. And oftentimes you're not. And then in those first few years of doing business, depending on how you're structured and funded and all those things, it can totally change the course of, I guess, the future of your business. And so we bootstrapped it. We did it, very lean, and learned a lot of, tough lessons along the way. But now we're starting to see, the payoff of just staying true to kind of what we started out to achieve, and now having more resource to then reinvest in the business and get closer to kind of that closed loop cycle of, returning as much to the planet as we're taking from it.
That's pretty cool. So what are some tips you could give to people who are in the position of starting up, that are looking to be as socially conscious as possible? What are some things that you would suggest to them with the experience you've had?
Yeah, I would suggest, really thinking clearly about like why you're going into business in the first place. One, what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and what is your unique solution to that? I think that is paramount before getting started, because that's something that you're going to have to fall back on time and time again. And, the business might not progress and evolve on the timeline that you think it should, but as long as you have that clearly defined, then that should be motivation enough to keep going. I think the other thing is just having a real, assessment of, your personal financial situation. Like, I was very fortunate to have some, a nest egg built up. I had a business partner who helped to provide initial capital. So that was kind of enough to get us off the ground. And I had a very supportive girlfriend at the time, later wife, and now wife, who, was invested and shared that vision with me as well. And so having, all those key players mutually aligned to really understand and know what you're building is key. And then really thinking clearly about how you're going to fund the business is also very key, and not be, it can be very challenging and easy to kind of see success of other companies and see revenue numbers. And it seems like everybody is just crushing it. But when you pull back the curtain, a lot of times I think it's important to remind yourself that you don't know all the ins and outs of every business and whether actually turning a profit or not. And so just being, again, true to what it is you're trying to build, and, doing it on your own terms and what really works for you that complements the lifestyle that you want to live by and design.
Definitely. I think that's a really important point to highlight, is the idea of that comparison. You said there, where you compare to other companies where you see the figures, like you said, but you don't know what's going on in that particular company or how that's being funded and that kind of thing. I think sometimes it's easy and you're quick to do that. And sometimes if you do that, you can also lose sight of why you started something in the first place, I think. And it can be, a difficult place to be. So I think definitely focusing on yourself and why you started the business, what's the reason for it, what's your plan, and sticking to that rather than comparison is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned you've got a background in sort of professional American football in the NFL. You were talking earlier on, and one of the things I was noticing was there's a real sort of culmination of everything that you have in your background that kind of has come together into that purpose and into what Lyfefuel is, which I think is awesome. And I was just wondering, what are some of the things that you would highlight from sport that you've brought into developing your business?
Yeah, I think there's some great parallels in terms of what it takes to succeed as a high level athlete in the world of sport, and what it takes to succeed as an entrepreneur or a business professional. If you think about it just in the course of a football game, there's a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows, right? You can go down moving the ball, and then all of a sudden you turn it over, and now you got to rally and come back, and you got to stay pretty even killed throughout it all and resolute on trying to win the game. And so as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of things outside of your control you just are forced to deal with. But I think your responsiveness to it, your attitude and approach towards it, and understanding that it's just, the next challenge that you need to overcome to get one step closer to what it is you're trying to build. So I think that really taught me a lot. And I think the other thing too, and just the sport of football is probably the ultimate team sport, right? And so everybody has a very specific role, and staying within that role, not trying to go too far beyond yourself, not, doing things for the wrong reason in terms of like seeking praise or accolades. You see it all the time. You hear it all the time. It's, guys that do win awards, they say, I couldn't have done this without, the guys in the trenches with me. I couldn't have done this without my teammates. And I think that's true to any organization, right? It really takes team mentality and having good team chemistry. Even if you are a, solopreneur, which I was for a very long time, doing it all, wearing many hats, there are other people involved and other people that you have to, I guess, rely upon. And I think that's super critical. And one thing that playing football for as long as I did and at the level that I was able to achieve taught me a lot of those lessons, which I was able to apply to the business world.
I like the team analogy. I think that's something that when we interact with brands and we help brands, generally at a point, it's 2 points. One of them is if they've gone through the process of developing their brand and never considered what that brand is or the purpose and that kind of thing. And sometimes it's when they are growing really quickly, they've lost sight of it. They've lost who they are through that growth quickly. How do you manage that process with regards to you've got your purpose, that core reason you exist, and then you're bringing people on? How do you make sure that that's in alignment? How do you continue to develop that culture as it grows?
I think for us, we've experienced, I guess, not super fast growth, but growth enough that it kind of starts to put additional stress on the business where you're having, out of stock issues, and you start to see the impact of that. And you realize, okay, there's some key parts to this business that I need to fix before I can really step on the gas and grow at the pace and the scale that I want. And so I think it's understanding the nuances of the business, not strictly being focused on revenue, but really mindful about profitability and ROI by channel. Like that's really how we look at things in business. And it might not be an immediate payback, but at least understanding and being able to evaluate that and know by channel basis or, just investment strategy, like what you intend to get from those micro investments and those micro decisions that we're all forced to make every single day in our business, keeping that long-term, goal constantly in view. Because, the challenge, I think fast growth is a blessing, but can also be a curse, because if you're just trying to keep up with that pace of growth, oftentimes it blinds you from, making the best decisions, hiring the right people. And that can ultimately, cost you a lot in the long term. And so I think it's important I think it's a very Western or US based mentality that I got to grow at all costs as fast as possible. But I think there's other models that are just as effective, especially when it's bottom line profitability minded. And I think it goes back to kind of that question about what type of business am I trying to achieve? Do I want to be a venture-backed, fast growing startup? If that's the case, you're probably going to spend close to 100% of your time consistently fundraising, and you're going to need some other people to really run and manage the business. Or am I okay having like a smaller team, growing it a bit slower, more organically, really being able to think about, the impact that we're having and all these little things. And, I think that's for every individual, every entrepreneur to kind of ask themselves before they go, down this road. And sometimes that changes, right? And you pivot and things change, or things go faster than you ever imagined or expected. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, am I really still the best person to do this? Or do we need to bring in some additional help who can help mentor me or take, more responsibility in some of these areas of the business where I don't have as much expertise that will allow us to get to our next big pinnacle?
I think you're right. And I think if you can grow organically at a sort of slower pace and with the right people at the right time, you're going to benefit from that in terms of a brand point of view. It's going to grow more organically. It's going to feel more consistent. It's going to stay true to what the brand is. Sometimes, like you said, if it grows too quickly is when you lose what the brand actually is. And there's a myriad of other issues that comes out of that to do with miscommunication and inconsistency of the brand and all these different things that, if not handled correctly, it can cause a lot of issues. So I totally get on board with that. I think And doing it that way as well, it helps you to find who you are as well in a sort of more controlled way, because as you develop and grow organically, there'll be things that you bring in or you lean into, or a new person comes in and it changes how you do something slightly, still on brand, but just adds to it, which I think is a really nice organic way to evolve a brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the things you love most about helping people to transform their life through nutrition?
I mean, the stories that we receive from our customers are just incredibly powerful. We just got, we did like a small giveaway just to gain some customer feedback and kind of start to measure that impact a bit more clearly. And it's that word, it's transformative, right? And having, I guess, gone through it myself individually at different phases in life and seeing close friends and family members, latch onto it and kind of apply it to their own lives, it truly is like you're a different person. And then when that happens, life just changes in such a significant and meaningful way. And that's really what we want for everyone. I mean, I think that's what everybody should truly crave. I think that's the ultimate human experience, is to, be able to live your fullest every day. That is our mantra, right? And empowering people to do that, and whatever that means to them, not forcing some, dietary dogma on people, not, trying to, feel guilty about, what you eat or whatever, but being mindful about those decisions and conscious that our choices do matter. They have an impact on, both personal wellness and planetary wellness as well. So, that's nutrition, and LYFefuel happens to be the vehicle through which we can have, more meaningful conversations around that topic. It's always been a passion of mine. And so it was a natural transition from being an athlete into the world of health and wellness. And yeah, that's the best thing for us, is just seeing and hearing how much of an impact that, LYFefuel has had on people's lives, and knowing that we're just a tool. Like, they're doing all the work, they're the ones that have to get up and grind it out. But if we can make that, just a little bit easier, and make sure that they're getting the, currency of energy and the micronutrients and vitamins that they need to actually get up and do it, then that's a huge win for us. But they're the ones that have to make the commitment. They're the ones that have to show up day in and day out to realize those results. It's not us. They're the ones who do it. And that's the cool thing.
I love that. I think that's amazing. Like you said, fueling those people in order to live their life to the fullest, and the knock-on effect that has in terms of their life, what they can do, what they can achieve, what they can give back as well. It's kind of a knock-on effect, a chain of, just a knock-on effect, a ripple effect throughout, from your product right the way through. I think it's amazing.
It's massive if you think about it too, right? Like, one person, like, if they change, if you think about like how much of, I guess, our food behavior gets passed along from, our parents and, our communities, right? Like, that one seed that we're planting with that person, if they truly, transform their lives, they're now touching the lives of future generations and others. And so it's a pretty massive impact when you think about it, in those terms.
Definitely. And that must be really satisfying, really enjoyable to see when you hear those stories of transformation, that something that you've built up, that you've put in place has had that impact on those individuals.
And that's why, we've got our program too. That's the transformation program. That's really helping build a bridge away from standard American diet and, just this, crappy, like, this acceptance of, I feel fine. Who said fine is good enough? Like, we could all feel amazing. We should all feel energized. We should all feel the best. And that doesn't happen all the time, but that's what we should strive to achieve, and not accept, the status quo that, I guess I'm fine, I guess, So
that's interesting, because with the transformation, I bet, when you feel better, your mindset shifts. So the relationships you have socially change, but also your sort of mental health and that side of things is going to be improved by the way that you feel. And I think that it's quite interesting that mindset is crucial in sport, and it's crucial in business. And your product kind of transforms people internally, but also to live their best life, it's going to transform them from a mindset point of view. So just out of interest, is there anything that you do from a mindset point of view, like daily routines or practices that help you stay sort of focused and on point and heading towards your goals?
Yeah. So for me, it's very important to own my morning and really carve out time, purposeful time for myself, to start the day. So instead of just being reactionary and just diving into work first thing, that's on pause until I've invested in, myself first, right? So I follow a daily mindfulness or meditation practice. That's how I start every day. And that just gives me the headspace to be able to approach the day a bit more even keeled and less responsive to stuff as it comes up. So I've noticed like a major, and I've been doing that for, I don't even know, quite some time, like 5 years or more now. And that's really helped me a ton. Stoic philosophy is another one that I love. And, I just kind of listen to some of the passages of Seneca or Marcus Aurelius, and The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday is a great book that I highly recommend people read if they're considering pursuing the entrepreneurial pathway. But yeah, that's first off and foremost. And I'm still very physically active. I really carve out time to move my body. And that is as much for like relieving stress and energizing the brain as much as it is for the physical body itself. So I think those are two very important things. And then again, the nutrition, it's paramount to being able to have your brain function at an optimal level and making sure you're getting choline and, DHA and a lot of these brain protective, healthy fats and other things.
I've been practicing sort of a similar thing in the mornings, kind of like a miracle morning type thing. And it's actually, it's amazing how much of a difference it makes to the rest of your day and kind of setting you up for the day mentally to be a bit more, like you said, less reactionary and more focused and present. It's a really interesting thing that manages to do.
I think you have to kind of carve it out. You have to structure your day the way that you want, right? I mean, especially if you're the entrepreneur, you're the person kind of in charge. You're the one ultimately responsible for the success of the organization. So I think it's important to time block, the space so that you have that opportunity to just kind of, step outside and think and be with your thoughts and really work through some of those challenges that we all, kind of struggle with on a daily basis. So that it really helps me set the tone for the day. And again, not be so emotionally charged when stuff goes sideways, but to really just, accept it and think through more calmly about, okay, what are our options? How can we move forward, and weighing that all out and choosing the best course once we've been able to process everything.
What drives you mad about your industry? What still needs to change?
Oh, so much. It's tough, right? I mean, I think it's a lot of marketing hype, a lot of, I guess, buzzwords that have lost meaning, natural being one of them, plant-based being another one. It's kind of like, if you check those boxes, then it's enough, because it's almost not giving consumers enough credit. And, what we've noticed is we tend to attract a more sophisticated consumer that, has kind of elevated their nutritional IQ and their health IQ and know what to look for. And so it's a challenge, right? Because there's a bit of a learning curve, because it's not an education that any of us really get in school or, passed down to us. So it's something that you have to take upon yourself. And so I think, one is just, we wish there was more transparency and more honesty in the industry, and, just kind of a bigger push to really evolve it in a way that I think the natural products space should be, because what it's morphed into, it's not really more helpful than any of the other CPG products, right? Just because something's, I guess, got a plant-based label on it doesn't make it any more healthy than something that's not plant-based. A lot of times they still have a lot of the same chemicals or sugars and other crap that large CPG companies have made a fortune on. And so that's one of my biggest frustrations and motivations, is just to really do things in a more responsible, more efficacious way, and in a cleaner label way. I think it's absolutely necessary. And that's the only way that we are able to change the course that we're on. I mean, got, half the American population overweight or obese, right? Type 2 diabetes is basically going to bankrupt the country in the next decade. So there's some massive shifts that need to be made. And oftentimes it seems like not enough people are paying attention to it. And then you layer on, the health of the planet, climate change and everything else on top of it. And it's just, you want to shake the whole thing and say, what are we paying attention to? A lot of the stuff that just seems so trivial and so silly when, our core essence, our food system is on the brink of a global collapse. That's the scary thing to me. And so I think we all need to wake up and really prioritize where we're getting our food from and empowering the small producers and farmers and relocalizing consumption choices.
Definitely. So on that, what can people do at a ground level to help with that? What are some things? You mentioned there, obviously local producers. Is there anything else that people can do to aid towards that?
Yeah, I think it's just changing what you put on the plate. So if you have access to, a farmer's market, that's a great place to start. Just trying to buy, less stuff in a package is another great place to start. And that choice alone, I think, can be quite powerful, especially if we can do it at scale. And I think you start to see this movement, you start to see the shift, you start to see some of these bigger companies step up and start to change and invest in regenerative agriculture and other things, not just because they're trendy and cool, but because, it does positively impact all of us. And that's really the way to build a better future. So I think it's just being really mindful about all those daily decisions that might not seem like they matter, right? A lot of them are maybe on autopilot, but maybe there's slight choices that you can make that are different. And also, really think through, ask that question before buying anything. Do I need this or do I just want this? Am I buying with purpose or am I just buying it because it's convenient?
Yeah, definitely. What's next for LYFefuel?
Yes, we've got some pretty exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. We are updating our hero formulation of the Essential Shake that I've now been working on for a little over 2.5 years. And it's awesome. Across the board, better product than we have now, both in terms of quality of ingredients, sourcing. We're going to be, I believe, we'll be the only 100% whole food plant-based product on the market, specifically formulated to fill the gaps of modern diets. And so that is pretty powerful when you think about it, because it simplifies, a person's daily routine and also gives them the highest quality fuel available. And then we're staying kind of within that scope of the essentials nutrition category, because that is the largest need that we see. There's not really, in modern Western societies, we're not necessarily lacking for calories, but we are severely lacking for high quality nutrition. And so we want to find more ways to kind of put that back at the center of the diet. And so we'll be launching some bars that also include that signature essential nutrient mix. And then we're going to push into the transformation program a bit more with some technology and different things that just make it, more easily accessible and easier to manage on a daily basis. So probably within Q3 or Q4, you'll see a brand new website and all that start to come to life for LYFefuel 2.0.
Cool, exciting times. So where's a good place for people to find out more about LYFefuel, your products, the transformation program, and yourself?
Yeah, so on our website, lyfefuel.com, that's life with a Y, LYFEFUEL.com. And LYFE is an acronym for Live Your Fullest Every Day. So yeah, that's the best place to find us. Yeah, I'm not super active on social media or anything like that, really focused on growing the business. So go there. Send us an email. I'll see it. My team will pass it along to me. So best place to start.
Cool. I'll put all those links in the show notes. Well, it's been absolutely awesome having you on today. I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation about something that's really important for people to understand, learn more about. I recommend everyone to go to lyfefuel.com and check out the products, the transformation program. Thank you very much.
Chris, thank you. This has been a blast. Thanks for having me.
We just put together a weekly brand tip video series, which is designed to help you to unlock your brand's potential and stand out from the competition. And if you're interested, if you just go to elementsbrandmanagement, all one word, .co.uk/weekly-brand-tips, sign up and you'll be delivered a 3 to 5 minute video a week straight to your inbox. I'll put a link in the show notes if you're interested. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to receive more, you can subscribe in all the usual places. We're talking iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Please, if you get a chance, rate and review. It helps the podcast to kind of get a bit more visibility and allows us to keep on producing these podcasts. Have a great week. Catch up soon. Keep those brands unified.